My lords, today I shall report on the realm we know as the Shroud. As we understand it, the Shroud is a realm of pure psionic energy, and it has existed since the dawn of time. It is the place from where psionic species can draw their power. The realm is inhabited by powerful beings of pure psionic energy that can be communed with through great effort. Our society researchers have been hard at work scraping together all the information we have regarding the Shroud, and according to some of the reports, have even managed to commune with the beasts that occupy it, and survived the ordeal. At least some of them, anyway. So we shall start with what is the Shroud. The Shroud is difficult to describe. It's a realm above our own, consisting of pure psionic energy. However, one can visit it if they are appropriately attuned. Once in that realm, and given an appropriate level of talent, one can manipulate its energy to create whatever desires take their fancy. They can also use it to transport themselves through the physical universe, either as an individual or through the use of psionic jump drives fitted to various warships. We know that the Shroud is occupied by various entities, all of whom have so far appeared hostile. And we know that 5 gods, for lack of a better description, also occupy the Shroud. These gods appear to have animosity with one another, and they appear to covet different ethics and have different goals. But we shall cover more on that later. A large proportion of our understanding of the Shroud comes from dig sites dedicated to the circa 100 million year old precursor race, the Zeroni. To briefly remind you all of the Zeroni. Once, they reigned as the unrivaled masters of psionics throughout our galaxy, surpassing all who inhabit it today. The Zeroni were awe-inspiring beings and left an indelible mark on our knowledge through their employment of psionic crystals, which they used to encapsulate their memories and emotions. This technology transcends our current achievements and far surpasses our current capabilities. If our interpretations are correct, the Zeroni soon made contact with the beings who occupy the Shroud. It is unclear if a bargain was made, but from here their power exploded. They learned to psionically enter the Shroud and acquired the ability to manipulate its essence to their whims. They created a utopia unlike anything that had ever been seen before. Furthermore, they learned that the Shroud touches all physical space simultaneously. They had the ability to enter at one physical point and psionically jump to any other part of the known galaxy. It is perhaps because of this power we have found little evidence of Zeroni expansion. The Shroud, it seems, enveloped their entire culture, science and entertainment, and all walks of life were pushed aside in order to fuel their need to enter the Shroud. To cut their story short, there was a civil war which resulted in the destruction of their entire race. The civil war came about due to the Zeroni learning that their psionic manipulation was increasing the size of a supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy, and thus would eventually destroy the physical galaxy. Fortunately for us, this did not happen, and all that remains of the Zeroni is the fine blue dust deposits that we find across the galaxy, known as Zro. Zro can be used, for lack of a better word, to turbocharge psionics, allowing them to massively increase their psionic potency. It does however appear that Zro has addictive properties. We lost several high-ranking psionics before fully understanding its overall effects on human physiology. One of our more inventive scientists has put in a request to combine Zro with Blorg secretions. They theorized that when consumed by the right subject, it could create an overwhelming sense of love and intense desire to protect, potentially allowing the pacification of entire planets by a single soul. Their request was denied publicly, but private research continues. You can learn more about the Zeroni in my report on the history of Stellaris precursors. This neatly brings me on to document the encounters that we have had with various entities of the Shroud. The specific being that we are talking to is unclear, but we have been able to ascertain great knowledge, including several wonderful technological breakthroughs. First, I shall detail the visions, and later I will show you the technology that we have uncovered. Vision 1. The vision is hazy and indistinct, but there can be no question. I see Earth. The great cities look different, yet familiar, even though there is an obscuring wall of flame and smoke. Thousands, no millions of mutilated bodies litter the streets. All of them human. The stench of decay is unbearable. An alien voice whispers in my ear. Your future. Nothing living remains in the ruins. In the sky above, massive orbital installations trailing smoke have begun a slow and inevitable descent towards the planet. Are we witnessing one possible future of many? The voice speaks again. Not one of many. It shall come to pass. As surely as the sun rises, it is your destiny. Vision 2. In the deeper regions of the Shroud, a presence suddenly makes itself felt. Visitors, like us. A powerful psionic probe made by minds as utterly as alien to us as they are to the Shroud. A faint image of massive organic beings floating in some kind of thick, gaseous atmosphere, while being attended to by swarms of smaller creatures flickers briefly into existence as their psychic echo touches our own. It feels utterly alien. I see a massive being floating in a thick smog. Swarms of small creatures coat its body. Vision 3. An endless desert stretches before us. We have been here before. An alien voice whispers something incoherent. Shalakal, Milam Zunak. Something emerges from the sand. It is difficult to see. Zaribi Melasuk. The words are like thunder, spoken by a mouth for which they were never intended. Yet, I feel compelled to answer. I see it all. A multiverse where thousands of galaxies, each like our own, are locked in endless cycles of conflict. It begins, it ends, and it begins again, each time with trillions of lives hanging in the balance. The voice whispers once more, this time in English. So it is, and so it always shall be. Vision 4. I'm looking down upon our galaxy from far above, at a distance of what must be hundreds of thousands of light years. Without warning, the psionic current plunges me down towards the myriad of stars, at incredible speed, and into the region of space belonging to one of the Holy Guardians. Stars swish by, then planets, until the vision finally settled on a city. Incredible spires rise up towards the sky, aided by anti-grav technology generations beyond our own. The current takes us into such a spire, through wall after wall until we reach a large meeting room of sorts. It is occupied by two aliens, floating comfortably in zero-gravity chairs while conversing with each other in soft voices. They are oblivious to my presence. Final entry. There is a presence here, occupying this part of the Shroud. I have met spirits before, but this is something else. Something vastly more powerful. Something far more ancient. It seems unaware of me. Perhaps it is sleeping. Perhaps I am simply beneath its notice. I should leave. The Shroud Gods and Covenants. As previously mentioned, there does appear to be a hierarchical structure to the beings within the Shroud. We have captured and forcibly extracted information from some of the weaker beings to acquire this knowledge. According to the information acquired, the Shroud is loosely ruled by 5 entities, although at this point, gods may be a better description. They seem to be in a constant state of flux, fighting amongst themselves and vying for power. They appear to always be on the lookout to corrupt the physical world. The curators have records, which we have managed to pillage, and these records describe species who have bargained with these entities, which provide us with insight. The 5 godlike beings who occupy the Shroud are as follows. The Composer of Strands. The Composer seems to thrive on change and manipulation. It focuses on mutation above all else. Empires who band with the Composer see massive increases in the population growth and average lifespan of their citizens. The entity appears to favour cross-species reproduction and experimentation in order to manipulate an empire's genetic traits as much as possible. Furthermore, it does not appear that there is a logic or a goal behind the genetic manipulation. The change is the driving force, not the resulting outcome. Empires who pact with the Composer often find temples that they build lead to massive population happiness increases, and they see drastic improvements in the resource output of the workforce around them. one tablet found within a temple dedicated to the composer read, "Here, flesh roams freely as thought. Who knows what changes the shroud might impart upon your mortal form? Ships of empires devoted to this entity will find their hulls are able to stitch themselves back together, as they are coated with a seemingly invisible but living skin." The next entity is called the Eater of Worlds. As the name suggests, this entity embraces conflict. A constant state of war is the goal of this being. An empire who pacts with this creature will feel the effects in their armies and navies. Their soldiers will fight with a ferocity that borders on savagery, and even the very weapons of their ships will hunger for blood. Despite this, there is a price. Expect the sudden and mysterious disappearance of entire city populations. The Eater will take its promised tribute. If your enemies won't feed it, it will consume you. Only the most insane would pact with this beast. We have found temples built for worship of this monster, however they appear far rarer than the other four. We assume that the blood of the battlefield is its preferred place of worship. Ships devoted to this entity will find their weapons land with unusual accuracy. The ship literally thirsts for kills. Bullets and lasers desire to impact upon enemy vessels. The third entity is known as the Instrument of Desire. The Instrument of Desire will push a man to the edge of his base desires and keep him there for as long as it can. The instrument appears to love decadence and delights in pleasure. Empires who pact with this creature will see great increases in production yields initially. However, given the immense increase in population upkeep that follows, and the debauchery that may ensue, this being is no less dangerous than the others. A population can literally tear themselves apart as they seek to fulfill their base desires. Temples to the instrument become a bloodbath as the drive to acquire fulfillment of desire quickly leads to violence. The instrument appears to revel in this. Ships devoted to this entity will find their passage through space to be fleeting, as if a great hand guides them through the void of space. Whispers in the Void. The fourth entity, known as Whispers in the Void, craves, or at least craves its followers, to acquire all knowledge. Citizens of empires who make a pact with this entity are gifted with knowledge that they should not have or are not yet ready for. Reports suggest the most intelligent will succumb the fastest, first enjoying this gift that they've been given, only to quickly fall into madness. Entire empires have fallen from the peak of advancement to simple cave dwellers in the space of decades at the whim of this creature. Temples dedicated to this creature give very little away. We can only assume that desperate people attend them in their hope to acquire knowledge. Who knows what they receive, if anything? Ships devoted to this entity find themselves remarkably evasive, as if the ship itself becomes a living creature. It can turn and dodge incoming enemy fire as if it's aware its own life depends upon it. The fifth and final entity that occupies the Shroud is by far the most powerful. The End of the Cycle. The End of the Cycle is by far the most dangerous of the entities in the Shroud, and appears to be based on our historical research to also be the most elusive and picky of the five. Despite this, it is by far the most powerful. We have an account of an empire who communed and made a pact with this creature. For 50 of our Terran years, this empire received unimaginable benefits heaped upon them. Resources from jobs appeared to increase 100-fold, amongst a drastic increase in warship output, among other things. However, at the 50-year mark, their worlds were consumed by an immensely powerful Shroud creature, which grew larger and larger with every world and every soul it consumed. If their records are to be believed, this being set about consuming the entire galaxy, leaving them for last. Moving on to psionic technologies. A smattering of psionic tech has been brought into existence by the empires that have communed with the Shroud. I shall do my best to detail them for you now, starting with the ability to distillate and use Zro to enhance psionic citizens. Zro, that we now know to be is the remains of the Zeroni people, can be found across a multitude of sites throughout the galaxy. It can be ingested by the psionically gifted, and acts as a very potent and addictive drug that enhances psionic abilities. We also know of a precognition interface that exists. Psionic races have been known, through some unknown means, to imbue their powers into sapient combat AIs aboard their warships. These AIs appear to gain precognition, allowing them the ability to read and analyze the impulses and thoughts of telepathic operatives before they have even cognitively processed them themselves. Psionic barriers also exist. Particularly powerful psionics can amplify their shield arrays by projecting a psionic energy barrier around their vessels. These appear to be mildly effective, akin to standard energy shields. However, more powerful psionics appear to have invented full psionic shielding, imbuing their energy emitters with psionic energy, which vastly increases their ability to withstand energy weapons. Psionic jump drives are also available, as I mentioned already. Psionics are able to improve upon conventional jump drive technology and use drives that obtain their power directly from the Shroud. This enables them to jump far further and with a much greater accuracy than that of conventional jump drives. We also have a psi-phase field generator. Psionics can bolster their ability to cloak their vessels by imbuing Shroud Tech with psionic energy, and using their own psionic skill, they can cloak their ships from sensors. They do this by phasing part of the ship into the Shroud. This does mean that the ship cannot use regular shields, but if they can't be seen, then they can't be shot at. The next piece of psionic tech we have evidence of is that of the Divine Stimulus. This is a weapon capable of amplifying certain psionic wavelengths. It is capable of inducing hallucinations in biological brains and severe disruption in electronic ones, i.e. it can brainwash an entire planet of organics in a matter of days, converting them to whatever heresy the user wishes. Equally, it can destroy an entire planet full of machines in a similar amount of time, an incredibly potent weapon. The final piece of psionic tech we are aware of is the Athrophasic Engine. This device appears to be able to tear a hole directly into the Shroud. At this time, we are unclear exactly how it works, but we are preparing a full report on this device and an empire who built one. This will be continued in an upcoming report. Thanks for watching, folks. If you want to learn more about the Zeroni, you can check out the history of Stellaris precursors here on screen now. And a big thank you to all my Patreons for their ongoing support. If you want to join them, you can find links in the description below.